November 23rd, and the kitchen smelled like my late wife's famous pumpkin pie. I'd spent 3 hours following Margaret's handwritten recipe, the one with the grease stain on the corner from when she made it every Thanksgiving for 37 years. The turkey was in the oven, the table was set for 6, and I'd even put out the good china. The house felt warm, almost alive again, because that smell, that one smell, reminded me why I used to love this house. And maybe why I needed to explain why I'm writing this from a cottage in Maine instead of my home in Minneapolis. My name is George Caldwell. I'm 62 years old, and until 18 months ago, I was a high school principal. Margaret and I had planned our retirement down to the last detail. We'd travel, visit the national parks we'd always talked about, maybe spend winters somewhere warm. Then she had a stroke in the grocery store parking lot, gone before the ambulance arrived. My son Nathan and his wife Vanessa moved in 3 months after the funeral. Nathan said I shouldn't be alone in that big house. I'd paid off the mortgage 15 years ago. 4 bedrooms, a finished basement, 2-car garage. In a good neighborhood near the lake, Nathan and Vanessa had been renting a 2-bedroom apartment across town, struggling with student loans and credit card debt from Vanessa's failed online boutique business. "Just until we get back on our feet, Dad," Nathan had said. Maybe 6 months. That was 22 months ago. I didn't mind at first. The house felt less empty with them there. Nathan was teaching 5th grade, making $43,000 a year. Vanessa worked part-time at a spa, doing nails. Between them, they brought in maybe $60,000. They had no kids yet, though Vanessa talked about it constantly. I covered the utilities, the property taxes, the insurance, the groceries. They were supposed to save for their own place. But here's what I noticed. Nathan's car got newer. Vanessa's closet got fuller. They went out to restaurants 3, 4 times a week. Weekend trips to Chicago. A Peloton bike showed up in my basement. When I asked about their savings, Nathan would get this guilty look, and Vanessa would change the subject. I didn't push it. Margaret always said I was too soft with Nathan, our only child. Maybe she was right. Then, about 6 months ago, my friend Walter from the school district called me. There was a retired teacher, Helen, who'd lost her husband around the same time I lost Margaret. Walter thought we should meet. Coffee turned into dinner. Dinner turned into theater tickets. Helen was kind, easy to talk to. She didn't try to replace Margaret. She understood grief. We took it slow. I didn't tell Nathan and Vanessa at first. It felt private. But by Thanksgiving, Helen and I had been seeing each other for 4 months. It felt dishonest not to mention it, especially since Helen had invited me to spend Christmas with her and her daughter's family in Vermont. So on Thanksgiving morning, while I was basting the turkey, I decided I'd tell them over dinner. Just a simple announcement. I'm seeing someone. I'm happy. I might travel more. I hoped they'd be happy for me. The doorbell rang at 3 o'clock. Vanessa's parents, Diane and Scott, arrived with a green bean casserole and a case of wine. Nice people, if a bit loud. We made small talk while the turkey rested. Nathan opened a bottle of red. Everything felt normal, almost good. We sat down around 4. I said grace, something Margaret always insisted on. Then, as we started passing dishes, I cleared my throat. I wanted to share some news, I said. Good news, I think. I've been seeing someone. Her name is Helen. We met through Walter. She's a retired teacher, a widow. Really wonderful person. I wanted you all to know because I'm thinking about traveling more, maybe spending some time in Vermont with her over the holidays. The table went quiet. Nathan looked surprised but managed a small smile. That's great, Dad. You deserve to be happy. But Vanessa's face had gone rigid. She set down her fork with a sharp click against the china. Excuse me? She said. I turned to her. I'm seeing someone. Helen. I thought you should know. No, I heard you, Vanessa interrupted. I just can't believe what I'm hearing. You're going to abandon Nathan? Leave him here alone while you run off to play house with some stranger? I'm not abandoning anyone, I said, keeping my voice calm. I'm just saying I won't be around as much. I want to travel, enjoy my retirement. I've been putting it off since Margaret passed, but Putting it off? Vanessa let out a harsh laugh. You've been living here, in your comfortable house, while Nathan works his ass off teaching ungrateful kids for pennies. And now you're just going to leave? What about us? Nathan touched her arm. Van, come on. Dad's not leaving. She jerked away from him. Don't van me. This is exactly what I said would happen. He's been using us. I felt my stomach clench. Using you? We've been taking care of you, Vanessa said, her voice rising. Keeping you company. Making sure you eat properly. Managing this house. Do you know how much work it is to maintain a place this size? And now that you've met some woman, suddenly you're all better, and we're what, disposable? I stared at her. Vanessa, I've been managing fine. You two moved in because Nathan said I shouldn't be alone. I never asked. Never asked? She pushed back from the table. You think Nathan wanted to live with his father at 35? We gave up our independence to be here for you. You gave up a 2-bedroom apartment you could barely afford, I said quietly. You haven't paid rent in almost 2 years. I've covered every bill, every repair, and we've paid for it in other ways, Vanessa snapped. Our privacy, our freedom, our plans for starting a family. We put everything on hold for you. Diane, Vanessa's mother, was staring at her wine glass. Scott looked uncomfortable. Nathan had gone pale. Van, that's not fair, Nathan said softly. Isn't it? She turned to him. Be honest, Nathan. Hasn't this been hard? Living in his house, under his rules, feeling like a child again? Nathan opened his mouth, then closed it. He looked at me, then at his plate. And that silence, that one moment where my son didn't defend me, hit harder than anything Vanessa had said. I think, I said carefully, there's been a misunderstanding. This is my house. You two are welcome to stay as long as you need, but I never intended to be a prisoner in my own home. I have a right to live my life. Of course you do, Vanessa said, her tone suddenly sweet, dangerous. You absolutely have that right. But let's talk about reality here. Nathan and I have established our lives here. Our jobs are here. Our friends. My parents. We can't just pick up and leave because you've decided to have a midlife crisis. I'm 62. It's not a midlife crisis. Whatever you want to call it, she continued. The point is, you need to think about what's practical. You're getting older, George. What happens when you can't manage these stairs anymore? When you need someone to drive you to doctor's appointments? Helen's not going to stick around for that. But Nathan will. Family will. We're your safety net. I'm in perfect health, I said. For now, Vanessa replied. But things change. My grandmother was fine one day, in a nursing home the next. You need to think long-term. And long-term, Nathan and I are going to be the ones taking care of you. So maybe you should consider our needs too. Maybe you should consider making this arrangement more permanent. I felt something cold settle in my chest. What do you mean, permanent? She glanced at Nathan, then back at me. I mean, if we're going to be here long-term, helping you as you age, maybe it makes sense to transfer the house into Nathan's name, for estate planning purposes. It would save on taxes when you, eventually, when I die. Don't be morbid, she said. I'm talking about being practical. You could still live here, obviously. It would just be Nathan's house on paper. It makes sense, George. This way, when the time comes, there's no probate, no fighting, no complications. And Nathan and I could finally feel like we have some stability, some ownership in our lives. We've sacrificed so much. I looked at Nathan. Is this what you want? He rubbed his face. Dad, I don't. I mean, Van has a point about estate planning. Your lawyer mentioned something about a living trust when Mom died. We never followed up on that. So, you want me to sign over my house? Not sign it over, Vanessa jumped in. Transfer it. For everyone's benefit. You'd still live here, still make decisions. It's just a legal formality. A formality that would give you ownership of my home. Your home that we've been maintaining, she said sharply. Do you know what this place would rent for? $3,000 a month, minimum, over the last 2 years. We've saved you, $70,000 in rent. Maybe you should think of this as paying us back. The turkey was getting cold. Diane was crying quietly. Scott had his head in his hands. I stood up. I need a minute. I walked to my bedroom, closed the door, and sat on the edge of the bed Margaret and I had shared for 37 years. My hands were shaking. I could hear raised voices downstairs, Nathan and Vanessa arguing. I couldn't make out the words. I thought about Margaret. What would she say? She'd never liked confrontation, but she'd been fierce when it came to protecting what mattered. Some people mistake kindness for weakness. She used to tell me when I'd let someone walk over me, "Don't let them make that mistake with you." I opened my nightstand drawer. Inside was an envelope with Margaret's life insurance policy. $500,000. I'd invested most of it, but I'd kept $30,000 in checking for emergencies. I also had my pension, Social Security, my retirement accounts. I was financially secure. I didn't need Nathan and Vanessa, but they needed me. Or rather, they needed my house. I pulled out my phone and called my lawyer, Tom Morrison. It was Thanksgiving, but Tom and I had been friends for 20 years. He answered on the third ring. "George, everything okay? I need your advice," I said. "Can you talk?" I explained the situation. Tom listened without interrupting. When I finished, he was quiet for a moment. "George, I'm going to be blunt. Do not transfer that house. If you do, you lose all control. Vanessa sounds like she's already mentally moved you into a nursing home. The second your name's off that deed, they can do whatever they want. Sell it, remortgage it, kick you out. Legally, you'd have no recourse." "I wasn't planning to transfer it," I said. "But what should I do?" "Give them notice to vacate. 30 days is legally required in Minnesota, but you could give them 60 to be generous. They're tenants, even without a lease. You have every right to ask them to leave." "Nathan's my son." "I know," Tom said gently, "but your son is letting his wife manipulate you. And him. This isn't about Thanksgiving dinner, George. This is about control. If you give in now, it'll never stop." "What if I wanted to help them financially? Give them money for a down payment, something to help them get started?" Tom paused. "That's your choice. But I'd make it conditional, and I'd make it clear this is a one-time gift, not an obligation." We talked for 20 more minutes. Tom agreed to draft eviction papers, just in case. He also suggested I update my will, make everything crystal clear. I thanked him and hung up. When I came back downstairs, Diane and Scott were gone. Nathan was clearing plates. Vanessa was on the couch, scrolling through her phone. The Thanksgiving I'd worked so hard to create felt like a crime scene. Nathan looked up. "Dad, I'm sorry. That got out of hand." Van's stressed about money. And she... "Nathan, stop," I said. I sat down in the chair across from Vanessa. She didn't look up from her phone. "We need to have a conversation. A real one." Vanessa sighed dramatically. "If this is going to be a lecture..." "It's not a lecture," I said. "It's a reality check. First, I'm not transferring this house to anyone. This is my home. I paid for it. I'm keeping it." She finally looked up. "That's incredibly selfish." "Maybe," I said. "But it's my right. Second, I'm going to start living my life again. I'm going to see Helen. I'm going to travel. I might not be here much. If that doesn't work for you, I understand, but that's what's happening." "So, you're kicking us out," Vanessa said flatly. "I'm not kicking you out. I'm saying the arrangement we had, me being here constantly, available, covering everything that's changing. If you two want to stay and pay rent, we can discuss that. Fair market rent. Split the utilities. Like roommates." "You want us to pay you rent?" "You're adults in your 30s with jobs," I said. "Yes, I think paying rent is reasonable." Nathan set down the plate he was holding. "Dad, we can't afford rent on this place. Not with our other expenses." "Then you'll need to figure something out," I said. "Find a cheaper place. Budget better. I'm not trying to be cruel, Nathan, but I've enabled this situation long enough. Your mother would have put her foot down a year ago." "Don't bring Mom into this," Nathan said sharply. "Your mother would have wanted you to stand on your own feet," I said. "She loved you, but she wouldn't have wanted this. You living here indefinitely, making no progress toward your own life. Me feeling trapped in my own house. Vanessa stood up. This is unbelievable. After everything we've done for you, what have you done for me? I asked. The question came out quieter than I intended. Specifically, what have you done? She stared at me. We kept you company. We made sure you weren't alone. I didn't ask for that. In fact, I'm starting to think I would have been better off alone. At least then, I would have dealt with my grief honestly, instead of burying it under the illusion of being needed. So that's what we are to you? Vanessa's voice was shaking now. An illusion? You're my son and his wife, I said. And I love Nathan. But this situation isn't healthy for any of us. You two need your own space. I need mine. We can have a better relationship with some distance. Fine, Vanessa said. She grabbed her purse. Fine. Come on, Nathan. We're leaving. Nathan looked torn. Van, it's Thanksgiving. We can talk about this tomorrow. No, she said. If your father wants us gone, we're gone. Pack a bag. We'll stay at my parents' tonight. You don't have to leave tonight, I said. Yes, we do, Vanessa said. Because I can't be in this house with someone who just told us we're worthless to him. Come on, Nathan. Nathan hesitated, looking at me. For a second, I thought he might stay, might finally choose to stand up to her, to have an actual conversation. But then he followed her upstairs. I sat there, listening to them pack, drawers opening and closing. Vanessa's voice, sharp and angry, though I couldn't make out the words. Nathan's quieter responses. They came down 20 minutes later with 2 suitcases and a garbage bag of clothes. Nathan couldn't look at me. I'll call you tomorrow, he said. Okay, I said. Vanessa stopped at the door. You know what, George? You're right. Your wife would have handled this differently. She would have seen us for what we are, family who cares about you. But you're so obsessed with this Helen person that you're willing to throw away your own son. So congratulations. You're going to end up exactly where you deserve, alone in this big empty house with no one who gives a damn about you. And when you're lying in a hospital bed someday, unable to wipe your own ass, don't come crying to us. We're done. She walked out. Nathan followed her. The door closed. I sat in the silence. The house smelled like turkey and pumpkin pie. The good china was still on the table. I'd planned to send everyone home with leftovers in Margaret's Tupperware. Instead, I wrapped everything up and put it in the refrigerator. I'd be eating turkey sandwiches for a week. I didn't hear from Nathan that night, or the next day, or the next. On Sunday, I called him. It went to voicemail. I left a message. Nathan, it's Dad. I want to talk. Please call me. He didn't call back. Monday, I tried again. This time, he answered. Hey, Dad. Hi, I said. How are you? We're okay. Staying with Van's parents. I'd like to talk. Can we meet for coffee? He hesitated. Van doesn't think that's a good idea right now. I'm not asking Van. I'm asking you, my son. Can we talk? Another pause. I don't know, Dad. You really hurt her. And honestly, you hurt me too. We've been here for you. And you just dismissed that. Like it meant nothing. That's not what I meant, I said. Nathan, I love you. But we need to talk about what's realistic, about boundaries, about your future. Can we please just sit down and talk? I need some time, he said. Van thinks we should cut contact for a while. Let you think about what you really want. What I really want, I said slowly, is to have a conversation with my son. I have to go, Nathan said. I'll call you later. He hung up. I stood there with the phone in my hand, understanding what was happening. Vanessa was isolating him, punishing me by withholding him, and Nathan was letting her. That night, I called Tom Morrison again. I want to do something, I said. I want to help Nathan, despite everything. But I want to do it in a way that makes a point. What did you have in mind? What if I paid off their debts, gave them a real chance to start over, but did it in a way that shows them exactly what they're throwing away? Tom was quiet. Keep talking. We worked out a plan. Over the next week, I did some digging. Nathan had told me bits and pieces about their financial situation over the months. Vanessa's boutique had failed, leaving them with about $40,000 in credit card debt. Nathan had $30,000 in student loans. They had a car payment on Vanessa's Lexus, about 15,000 left. That was 85,000 in debt. I called their creditors one by one. It took some negotiating, some proof that I was Nathan's father, some paperwork. But by the end of the week, I'd paid off everything. Every credit card, every loan. The car was paid in full, title transferred to them, free and clear. Then I had Tom draft a document. Not a legal contract, just a letter. It laid out everything I'd paid. It included a check for $15,000, money for them to use for a down payment on a house or apartment. The total amount I'd spent was exactly $100,000. And then I added one more thing. I updated my will. Nathan was still my beneficiary, but I'd changed the terms. The house would go to him, but only if he was still in contact with me at the time of my death. If we were estranged, the house would be sold and the proceeds would go to charity. I wanted him to understand that relationships matter, that you can't just take and give nothing back. Tom thought it was harsh. I thought it was fair. I mailed the package to Nathan at Vanessa's parents' house on a Tuesday. It included a letter explaining what I'd done, copies of all the payoff confirmations, the check for $15,000, a copy of the updated will, a note that said, "This is what family does. We help each other, but we don't manipulate each other. We don't use each other. If you want a relationship with me, I'm here. If you don't, I'll respect that. But you need to understand that your choices have consequences. I love you. I always will. But I won't be held hostage in my own life. Love, Dad." I didn't tell him I'd paid off his debts to manipulate him into calling. I did it because I loved him, because despite everything, he was my son. And I wanted him to have a chance at a better life. But I also wanted him to see what he was choosing, what Vanessa was costing him. He got the package on Thursday. I know because I tracked it. Friday afternoon, my doorbell rang. It was Nathan, alone. He looked terrible. Eyes red, unshaven, wearing sweatpants and a wrinkled t-shirt. "Can I come in?" he asked. I stepped aside. He walked to the living room and sat on the couch where he'd sat 1,000 times growing up. I sat across from him. "I got your package," he said. "I figured, Dad." "I don't. I don't know what to say. You paid off our debts. All of them. That's—" He shook his head. "That's over $100,000. 100,000 exactly," I said. "Worth it if it helps you start fresh." "Why?" he asked. "After what Van said, after everything, why would you do this?" "Because you're my son," I said simply. "Because I love you. Because I want you to have a good life." Nathan's face crumpled. "I've been an idiot." "You've been influenced," I said. "There's a difference." "No." He shook his head hard. "No, Dad. I've been a coward. Van's been saying terrible things, manipulating situations, and I let her. I didn't stand up for you. I didn't stand up for myself. I've been hiding behind her, letting her be the bad guy, so I didn't have to feel guilty about living off you." "Nathan, when we moved in here, it was supposed to be temporary. 6 months. But then it was so easy, so comfortable. No rent, no bills, no real responsibilities. And Van kept pushing for more. The house, the inheritance, making you feel guilty for wanting your own life. And I went along with it because it was easier than admitting we'd been using you." "You weren't using me," I said. "Yes, we were." He wiped his eyes. "And the worst part is, we convinced ourselves we were doing you a favor, like we were sacrificing for you. But you were the one sacrificing. Your money, your space, your freedom, and when you finally asked for something just to live your own life, Van acted like you were betraying us." "Where's Vanessa now?" I asked. "Her parents' place. We had a fight. A big one. When I got your letter, I showed it to her. I thought she'd be happy, relieved. We're debt-free, Dad. For the first time in our adult lives, we have no credit card debt, no student loans, nothing. We could actually save for a house now." But she wasn't happy. She was furious. "Why?" "Because you didn't give us the house," Nathan said bitterly. "That's what she wanted all along. Not financial help. Not a fresh start. She wanted this house. And when she realized that wasn't happening, that you'd actually set up your will to prevent her from getting it if we stayed estranged, She lost it. She said you were manipulating me, trying to buy my loyalty. She wanted me to tear up the check, refuse your money, cut you off completely. What did you say? I told her she was insane, that what you did was incredibly generous, that we should be grateful. And she said if I took your money, if I accepted your manipulative gift, she'd leave me. I felt my chest tighten. Nathan, so I told her to leave, he said quietly. I said if she couldn't see what an amazing thing you'd done, if she couldn't be grateful, if she was more interested in getting this house than in having a real relationship with you, then maybe we shouldn't be together. You don't mean that. I do, he said. Dad, I've been miserable. For months. Van's been getting worse, more demanding, more entitled. Everything is about what she wants, what she deserves, and I kept telling myself it was just stress, just temporary. But it's not. This is who she is. And I can't be with someone who treats my father, who treats anyone the way she's treated you. We sat in silence for a moment. I'm sorry, Nathan said. I'm so sorry for everything, for not standing up for you, for not seeing what was happening, for letting it get this far. You're here now, I said. That's what matters. I want to make it right, he said. I'll move out, obviously. Van and I have to figure out what we're doing. But either way, I can't stay here. I need to prove I can stand on my own. But I want to be in your life, Dad. I want to meet Helen. I want to have Sunday dinners again, actually talk, actually be a son instead of a parasite. You were never a parasite, I said. I was, he said, but I don't want to be anymore. I stood up and walked over to him. He stood too, and I hugged him. He was 40 years old, but in that moment, he felt like the little boy who used to crawl into my lap when he had nightmares. I love you, I said. I love you too, he said, and I'm going to do better, I promise. That was 6 months ago. Nathan and Vanessa separated in December. She moved back with her parents. Nathan got a small one-bedroom apartment near his school. He's been living on his own for the first time in years, managing his own bills, cooking his own meals. He comes over for dinner once a week. We talk on the phone every few days. Real conversations. He met Helen in January. They got along well. Helen told me later that Nathan seemed genuinely kind, just a bit lost. She wasn't wrong. Vanessa filed for divorce in February. Nathan didn't contest it. She wanted half of everything. But since their debts had been paid off by me, and they had no real assets, there wasn't much to split. The Lexus went to her. Nathan kept his beat-up Honda. She wanted spousal support. But since they'd only been married 4 years and she'd been employed the whole time, the judge denied it. She tried one last manipulation. She called me in March, crying, saying she'd been wrong, that she'd been stressed and scared and she'd messed everything up. She asked if I'd talk to Nathan, convince him to give their marriage another chance. She even suggested couples therapy. I told her no. Not because I didn't believe in forgiveness, not because I'm cruel, but because I'd watched her operate for 2 years. I'd seen how she twisted situations, played victim, manipulated emotions. And I knew if Nathan took her back, we'd be right back where we started in 6 months. You should talk to Nathan directly, I told her. If you want to fix things, convince him, not me. She called Nathan. He said no. He told me later it was the hardest phone call he'd ever had to make, but also the most necessary. The divorce was final in April. As for me, I've been living. Really living. Helen and I spent 3 weeks in Vermont over Christmas. We went to Yellowstone in May. We're planning a trip to Ireland in the fall. We're not married, probably never will be, but we have something good, something honest. I still live in the house. Nathan has a key and comes over whenever he wants. We had Thanksgiving here last year, just the 3 of us, me, Nathan, and Helen. It was peaceful. We made Margaret's pumpkin pie. Nathan cried a little, and that was okay. I updated my will again. Nathan is still the primary beneficiary, but now there's no condition about being in contact. I trust him. He's proven he can stand on his own, make his own choices, prioritize what matters. The other day, Nathan told me he's been seeing someone, a teacher at his school named Amy. He seems happy, cautious, but happy. She's not like Van, he said. She's got her own apartment, her own life, her own friends. She doesn't need me to complete her. We're just good together. That's how it should be, I told him. Yesterday, I got a text from Vanessa. Just one line. You destroyed my marriage. I didn't respond. Because I didn't destroy anything. I just stopped being a doormat. I stopped enabling. I stopped accepting mistreatment in my own home. And yes, I paid off their debts. That $100,000 was a gift, freely given. But it came with a message. I love my son, but I won't be manipulated. I'll help family, but I won't be taken advantage of. I believe in generosity, but also in self-respect. Some people call what I did harsh. Tom Morrison says it was brilliant. Helen says it was necessary. Nathan says it saved him. I think it was simply this, setting a boundary, with money, with love, with a clear message about what I would and wouldn't accept. Because here's what I learned. Generosity without boundaries isn't love. It's enabling, and sometimes the most loving thing you can do for someone is to stop rescuing them and let them learn to swim on their own. Margaret always said I was too soft, but I think she'd be proud of what I did. I think she'd be proud that I finally stood up for myself, that I honored our retirement dreams by actually living them, that I gave Nathan the gift of consequences, which turned out to be exactly what he needed to become the man he was supposed to be. I'm writing this from Maine because I bought a small cottage here last month. Nothing fancy. 2 bedrooms, a view of the ocean, a little deck where I can sit in the mornings with coffee and watch the boats. Helen and I are going to split time between here and Minneapolis. Nathan's coming up next weekend to help me paint the living room. The house in Minneapolis is still mine, still in my name. Nathan will get it someday, when I'm gone. But for now, it's my home base, the place I return to, the place full of memories of Margaret and better times. And it's mine. Not because I fought for it, but because I refused to give it away to people who saw it as a prize instead of a home. Vanessa was wrong about one thing. I'm not alone in my big empty house. I'm surrounded by people who actually care about me. Helen, Nathan, Tom Morrison, Walter from the school district, old friends I've reconnected with, my neighbor Barbara, who brings over soup when she makes too much. I'm not alone. I'm just no longer tolerating people who mistake my kindness for weakness. And that, it turns out, makes all the difference.